Hello, friends. This is Ted, one of the hosts for Jesus Goggles podcast. We recently ended season 1 and are currently preparing for the next season. But before we get started with our next season, we thought it would be great to talk about college admissions process with a Christian perspective. By end of April, high school seniors need to make their final decisions on where to attend college, and many underclassmen will be listening to their upperclassmen about college admissions process. It's definitely an exciting time, but a great time to think more about how to really think about this entire journey. Continuing on from last week, I will be sharing experiences, stories, perspectives of me and my friends, and mistakes we made about college admissions. Today, I will be discussing 4 questions with you guys. Here are 4, so please listen very carefully. Number 1, who am I? Number 1, who am I? Number 2, what am I doing? Number 2, what am I doing? Number 3, why am I doing what I am doing? Why am I doing what I am doing? Number 4, how am I doing what I'm doing? How am I doing what I'm doing? So, why these questions? Some of you are probably confused, so let me explain. These 4 questions are for self-reflection, discovering who you really are. In other words, it's a process to find your calling. So question number 1 asks us about who we are before God and why God created us. Think about what kind of person you want to be. And if you're able to answer this question, think whether your answer actually came from yourself, like within you, or was it actually derived from someone else's thought? If your answer doesn't include any of God's perspective, I want you to rethink your answer. God created us with a purpose, but do I know what that purpose really is? And am I preparing and living in order to fulfill that purpose? This is an essential question to ask ourselves because it's a fundamental question about our existence. The reason why we need to have a good answer to this question is because it really helps us to introduce ourselves. In college application, students have to write an essay called personal statement. And students who have thought about this question for a long time, and if they have an organized thought, they usually don't really have a very difficult time writing their personal statement. But if you don't know who you are, it's really difficult to write one. Perhaps that's because the student never really questioned about his or her existence. Finding an answer about who you are, why God created you, and what God wants you to do from now on is a process that must be accompanied by prayer. So I hope everyone can get started on this process early on if you never really thought about this. Question 2, 3, and 4, it's really asking about your activities, what you're doing, and why you're doing it. And question 2 and 3 are really focused on me asking you about your activities on and off campus. So generally speaking, if you have a clear purpose and are intentionally involved in an activity of your choice, your level of interest is significantly different from activities you're doing just because everyone is doing it. And, I see this all the time. Of course, students feel pressured to do what everyone else is doing, oftentimes because of peer pressure. And even if it's something that they don't really want to do or they don't even know why they're doing it. And this is, so highly possible among high school students. And it's difficult to make meaning out of these activities because they're not particularly important to you. If your interests are clear cut and you know what you want to do and experiences like you want to build and have throughout high school, it's much easier to think about the values of the activities you proposed like to yourself in terms of like what you want to be involved in, like why you want to do things. And why all of this is important is because it's very important to be able to put your enthusiasm and interest into words. Again, like going back to the essay portion and written portions of your application. Your level of interest shows on your application when it clearly has meaning and significance to you, like on a personal level. If you're involved in something you don't think that's very important, you really should be thinking about like why you are really doing it. So, this is why it's just so important to answer the question I asked before. Number 1, like ask yourself, who am I? So let me throw an example. If you're interested in cooking, you should think about how you can intentionally seek ways to be involved in the cooking community. If there are no cooking clubs on campus, you should just make one yourself and start exploring and experimenting with your friends and have fun while doing so. And, why not? I know starting may be difficult, but when you are doing what you like with friends who like what you like, there is a great synergy. Look forward to it. You guys will be able to, do something bigger and greater things. Intentionally choosing to be involved in an activity like this definitely helps you explaining your personal journey of life. Not only can you say like what kind of person you are, but you will have concrete examples like life experiences to share with others about who you really are. And it's a famous cliche quote, but I have to throw it out there. Like, remember, show, but like not tell. Persuading other people through your action has much greater worth than just words without, any actions. If you already have an activity you really like, think about why you like it. And if you have activities you don't like, think about why you don't like it. When you know why certain activities are appealing to you, you will focus on activities that are meaningful and valuable to you. And this is how you should narrow down your interests progressively and continuously. And let's just expand on that cooking example a little bit more. Let's say you started this cooking club because you love food so much, but you realize the meetings you have with the members of the club, like your friends and whoever else, like, it means a lot more than just like eating. What if you find a value in building a warm community that supports one another, through food, cooking, and eating? If you can found a community that supports students who are burnt out from school and academics and sports or, just daily life, isn't it like making a direct impact to those students? Everyone has their own ideas and, say that, they want to do great things, but not many students can actually create a concrete plan and follow through it. There are even less students who are able to write about this, like, overall. And these are some of the few steps I want you guys to remember when you guys are thinking about being involved in an activity or an organization. Don't be just involved in an activity because you're in a rush. Think about what you want to accomplish and carefully choose. It could be volunteering, leadership, competitions, other activities. They're all valid and great. But I hope whatever you choose has a personal meaning to you, like some sort of meaning and a value to you, and you're just excited to share what you do with others. And this energy and enthusiasm that I'm talking about, it can definitely be felt on your college application. And that's how you stand out. And now it just comes down to the very last questions, and it's about how you're doing what you're doing. Students are often so busy because they're just involved in so many activities. But one thing that the students don't really think about is like the depth of their idea, the depth of their experience, and the depth of their involvement. I understand why, and it's probably because it's even hard to be committed to one activity for a long time. However, there are students out there who are drawing bigger pictures, they're imagining bigger things, and then they're thinking about how they can continually expand on their ideas, activities, and build, much greater influence and making greater impacts, doing things on a bigger scale. So let's say if you're like an artsy student who likes to share your drawings, paintings on social media, or like participate in like an art fair within school, you should be thinking about like how you can do these things on like the next level. How about participating in a city reform, like an environmental project that allows like a mural drawing around the city? Like it's like you're really, really like making evidence of your work out there, trying to present. And how about like even partaking in a state level or like a national level art competition for young and aspiring artists? That's like a competition hosted by an art magazine. So like these type of ideas, like to be able to do something on like a greater like next level, like you need to be using your imagination and then keep on looking for those opportunities. When you ask more questions, search more, you will definitely be able to find opportunities to show off, like showcase your talents and experience things that your peers just would never have imagined possible. Furthermore, I want to challenge you to think about how to benefit the public, like the public good, with your involvement. Delivering visible, like tangible impacts for public good earns like huge bonus points from college admissions committee. And why? Doing something that significant like within your school is already difficult, and you know that not everyone has the experience to do something like that, like for public good outside of the school too. So students like generally don't really think about planning like this big of a project, and finding students who actually follow through, it's like so rare. And if you are doing all of this, like you're like probably the rare gem that colleges are looking for. But keep in mind that students who know what they like to do and continuously like make efforts to improve upon their ideas and experiences, like even if they don't get into their dream school, they will have the drive, energy, and idea to go after what they have always like been planning. And through this soul searching process, students know how they can accomplish their goals and find vision. And connecting that with God is so important. Through your activities on and off campus, you will be able to go through a process of finding talents that God gave you. God gives each and every one certain talents. And what I mean by that is like what you're good at. And if you don't put in the work to reflect on your own ability about yourself, you will have a hard time finding the talent that God gave you. And yes, technically you can still do God's work when you don't know like what your God-given talents are. But if you find it, it will be much easier to find what you're good at and what you like. In other words, you will find more meaning in what you do and pursue a happier, satisfying life. Let's not just think about successfully finishing the college admissions process, but let's consider this process a time that God gave us to discover more about ourselves. Be interested in knowing about how God would like to use you and start preparing for college admissions with that thought. Obviously, you will have many questions and want to find answers. And if so, please follow what Jesus said. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you. Just like this Matthew chapter 7 verse 7 says, you can always receive help from God as long as you ask. If you don't know where to start praying starting from today. God is waiting for your prayers. There are probably a lot of things that you don't pray about, and perhaps that's why you might be losing out on those opportunities that you've like really wanted to like get hold of, like just because you haven't prayed about it. So from now on, don't hesitate, but actually start praying. Thank you for listening so far. I will be bringing more tips on college admissions next week, so stay tuned and please don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.